welcome back to Blue Steel, Mark. How the heck have you been?
Yeah, I've been really good, really good, really good. Tired lately. I think it's that change of the season. How about you?
Yeah, allergies have kicked my butt.
Yeah. Very congested too.
And oh, my eyes, they're so itchy all the time. That's okay. Just, have more tea, more honey, and a lot of antihistamines.
That's
right. Yeah.
Well, and I love the fall in Missouri. So beautiful. So pretty. So pretty. I'll take the burning eyes and the stuffy congestion.
I will deal with allergies for how gorgeous it is and the wild swings in temperature between 40 degrees to 85 degrees and the trees don't know what's going on. There's tons of animals everywhere.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
You get up, you put on a coat, and then you
get
Welcome to Missouri.
It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
The whole Midwest is fantastic like that.
Well, gosh, we were talking before we started rolling here, and it was really interesting that you had brought up that you're seeing a complacency in customers and people. And I got to be real honest, I feel like when you said it, I kind of agree with you in just the gun industry in general. Like when I went to SHOT Show last year, there was just this lull, we're just doing what we do. We're being complacent. There's not really a lot of thought going behind it. So if you don't mind sharing kind of because you're seeing it every day.
Yeah, and it's just, there's complacency on a lot of levels. The scariest level of complacency for me is that these are tools, but these are tools that can be very, 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 very dangerous. Mm-hmm. And so to get to that point where all of a sudden you check a gun, you clear it and everything like that, and then I watch somebody pick it up, not check it and clear it after it's been set down, and then take aim at a wall that maybe I'm like, do you know what's behind your target? They're like, yeah, I'm shooting at the wall. I'm like, so behind that wall is another office, and behind that office door there is someone else, potentially with other customers, or there might be a class in the conference room, or they might be taking aim at my CFO's office, and I'm like, this is just absolutely not cool. You really got to think about what's behind that target. And then, they'll test the trigger or something like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably not good. And at the same time, I'm wondering how many times myself have I done that exact same thing, just being complacent about it, going, yeah, I checked it. Yeah, I see that it's empty. I see that it's unloaded for the 12th time. And yeah, I'm going to take aim at a wall because there's a grid on it and I can line up, my sights on that grid right there and see what I'm looking at. I've done it before too. I know I have.
Well, I was at the Tulsa Gun Show a few months ago, and they had an accidental misfire there. Like you're just walking around, all of a sudden, boom. Which means people are getting complacent. And I love that you brought that up because it's really one of the most dangerous things you can do as a firearm owner is be complacent. And what, if you don't mind me asking, what do you think it is? Because I feel like as soon as you said it, I'm like, yes, people are getting complacent. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on it? What do you think it is? Like, why? It's
a level of comfort. It really is. All of a sudden, you're familiar enough with something, you're comfortable with something. How many times while you're driving have you actually answered your cell phone or maybe swiped to look for directions or something like that while you're driving? You're basically reading just a screen, but while you're driving at 65 plus miles an hour with lots of other people around you. I cruise by people on my motorcycle and I look in the car windows of what I'm passing and Oh my gosh, everybody is glued to a screen in the phone. And I'm like, well, that makes sense why I see so many people just swerving down the roads. And even those trucks that say, we don't text and drive, we're some fancy company, and yeah, and they're texting and driving, or maybe they're on a call with their boss, or something. I don't know what the deal is, but
even really in the last few months that when I'm sitting at a stoplight, the light turns green, I'm finding I often have to honk the horn to let the person know that the light has turned green because they're looking down. I find I have to do that a lot lately. So I guess, and that makes sense to me, is that it's really this, it's like as if they're distracted.
They're comfortable.
They're comfortable and they're distracted because the phones really do kind of pull you into this other world, and then you're all over the world at that point in your mind, not focused on what's in front of you. And firearms could really be dangerous if you, especially when you're like, well, I already know what I'm doing. I don't really have to pay attention. The accidental misfires that I know of all were because people thought, I swear I checked.
Yeah, I swear I checked.
I swear I checked, and there wasn't a bullet in the chamber, but yet, here it is. Complacency, interesting.
You check 1,000,006 times. I have checked every gun, personally, in this store when it comes into my office, and I have checked again before it leaves my office. I miss stuff, too. There are times when I'm called away from the office in the middle of doing something and my attention is split in 6 different ways. And I can tell you, I am hell on wheels good at one thing at a time. You give me 6 things at a time to do and I can get all 6 done, just not so great. So yeah, I will, humans will miss things, make errors and mistakes, and getting complacent around these is something that's really scary, that no matter who you are, no matter how old you are or how long you have been in this industry, it's a thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just all it takes is that one time that you've checked something and checked it again, walked away, maybe somebody else checks it, or in this particular setting, which is not really like any other setting I've ever been in, there are times when I can walk away from something and come back to it an hour or 2 later. Well, the gunsmith's already gone through it and has fixed something on it or repaired something on it. And there have been empty cartridge casings that I have ejected from firearms before, going, how did that happen? I'm glad I'm not I'm glad I'm not trying the triggers on these, but it's an empty casing. Why is this in there? Oh yeah, I put that in there just to check or something, somebody else in the store. I'm like,
so it's multiple hands, it's multiple guns.
Yeah, multiple hands, multiple guns, and you get people all the time that are like, hey, I have an empty cartridge, I want to check and see, here's the problem that's happening on my extractor when you have this in there and then you pull this back and it's not catching on the rims of these anymore. So sometimes the mistakes and the complacency comes from someone that is so familiar with one item and they're showing what that one particular item can do to another person. Well, the other person is maybe not as, especially if it's a broken firearm, maybe the other person is going to handle it slightly different,
sure.
Or do something that you're not ready for them to do. Case in point, many people at the gun counter, their first idea of racking a slide isn't to just grip the handle below the trigger guard. No. The first time they grab a gun to rack the slide, their finger is on the trigger, usually pulling that trigger down. And so I'm like, yeah, you just shot my coworker. Yeah, you just shot me. Yeah, you just... And...
So really
it's spooky.
It is spooky.
It's so spooky.
Because people are there. There's a lot of new gun owners out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would dare to say that it's probably, a lot of new gun owners probably are more cautious and less complacent. but yet less knowledgeable. So they're kind of unaware of the dangers. So you really have you have this massive group of people who are probably trying their hardest, but they're unaware of the dangers. Then you also have a bigger group of people who just think they know everything, so they're being complacent, so they're causing accidents to happen.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it's still a problem, but I really think that education would probably fix this, even if it's just a basic 101 class, a refresher course for the people that have massive and extensive knowledge, and just to see, hey, these are the accidents that can happen, and for the new gun owners, just that basic, okay, here's your first basic 101, what you're going to need to know about these guns, how they operate, what to do and what not to do. It took me some time to figure that out too. And the more I handle them, it still scares me.
So really, I mean, I would say, and I only find this a fascinating topic, in addition to, I think it needs to be fixed in the world, but I'm guilty of it as well, of times. And I think the importance is just when you realize that you're about to handle a firearm, I think we just need to all take a moment and say, this is a big responsibility. I need to focus on what I'm doing.
So yeah, this has been weighing heavily on my mind for a couple reasons, mostly because the last month I have had multiple issues with firearms, even that are broken. Boss man purchased a firearm that was absolutely broken. And so he was like, man, the trigger, he checked it and everything. He's like, the trigger on this is so sweet. It's fantastic. He's like, I didn't get any magazines with this one. I think I have some magazines at home, but this is a amazing vintage gun. And so he brought a magazine from home and he loads it in the gun and he goes to check that trigger, and before he can even, he just released the slide on it, no finger on the trigger, and it just went off. So that was an issue with a very, very weak spring inside there. So that did need to be replaced. Once it was replaced, it worked flawlessly, but being as that it was vintage and it had many, many, many decades of honest use and wear, and at some point something that's 70 years old is gonna kind of give out.
Well, gosh, Maggie, thank you so much. We always appreciate you. You're just a wealth of information, and believe it or not, this stuff really helps. It's always helpful to get this information out here, especially on topics like this. So thank you so much.
You are ever so kindly welcome, and it's always been a pleasure. So can't think of any place I'd rather be or anybody I'd rather be talking to. So,
all right, me as well. Thank you so much, Maggie.
You're welcome, Mark.
All right,
see ya, everybody.
Bye-bye.